focus. Ideate, innovate, enable. Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.
Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance. Well, now global value chains are a significant component of the international production landscape, so much so that increase in its participation can foster job creation and economic growth evidently. And our next panel aims to decode the significance and implications of scaling up these global value chains. And for that, I would once again like to invite on stage Shruti Mishra from CNBC-TV18 to moderate this discussion.
Let me start with a topic that resonates with all of you here. How can Gujarat's SMEs become a bigger part of modern global supply chains? And Ravi, if we could start with you.
Actually, much has been talked about the SMEs, but frankly, because of the kind of contribution they make, all SMEs do about, I think, 30% of India's exports, or 50% of India's exports, and 30% of the GDP. So, and the entrepreneurship of Gujarat especially has been really very good. So, it has started off from Ahmedabad. It has started off from all parts of Gujarat. Every small corner of Gujarat has actually seen some innovation or the other, something or the other coming up every other day. If you've been watching the Shark Tank of late, every day there are 2 or 3 people coming from Ahmedabad over there. So, and all of them very small entrepreneurs, but having a lot of good ideas with them. The same way, even the one which has been started by the lawyer turned entrepreneurs. Now lawyers have turned entrepreneurs. That's what they have started off this roastery brand. So it's in the blood. And therefore, I'm sure going the way it is being done continuously, they will contribute to the global value chain definitely in a big way.
All right, it's in the blood, says Ravi. Dr. Viranchi, coming to you now. In order to make India self-reliant in pharma, we cannot just rely on, short-term supply chains. It's not enough. And in your own words, you've said that pharma is not a sprint, it is a marathon. So what are the big challenges that need to be tackled and ensure that we are part of the modern global supply chains?
Pharmaceutical industry is one of the top 10 industries contributing to positive forex. So let me put the right thing in perspective. However, our biggest pain has been our reliance on the APIs as far as our reliance on certain countries are concerned, and which is actually something that needs to be focused. Not that the APIs were not manufactured in India. In fact, they were manufactured right here in Baroda, as in many parts of India. The technology is available, but somehow because of certain environmental conditions and issues which we could not handle correctly, those industries have migrated. So I think the biggest challenge, therefore, if we want the security in terms of the healthcare security for India, and as such, we all know that the Indian pharmaceutical industry is considered as the global pharmacy, and we contribute to supply of essential medicines all across the globe. We need to have a strong supply chain of APIs within India. For that, of course, we had 2 PLIs that the government had announced with an outflow of over 10,000 crores, which was the PLI 1, and another 5,000 crores, which was PLI 2. Yet, we also have to work on how to make the environment laws, or I would say implementation of those laws, a little bit simpler so that these industries can survive in India and they can thrive in India. As such, we have a big formulation industry. 1 in every 4th pill sold worldwide is manufactured in India. That's the strength of the formulation industry. And beyond financials, a strong handhold to the API industry is therefore very important to build a long-term supply chain.
All right, Sandeep, let me come to you now. Cortec Energy provides products and services to the gas turbine and steam turbine operators across the globe and to the aerospace and defense sectors as well. How have you at Cortec scaled up, your global value chain? If you could take us through your journey.
So Cortec essentially was an oil and gas service company, and that's still the big part of the group. Personally, I was excited. We were agents for a company called John Brown Engineering. And when I saw these gas turbine products, I thought they are overpriced. And these products could be made in India at a significantly lower cost. So I tried to approach my principals. I said, why don't we make some of these parts in India? And a senior gentleman, he says, boy, these are not parts that can be made in India. They are critical and very high precision parts. So that became a challenge for me. And I started my journey of developing very high critical precision parts. Initially, it was very difficult to sell it outside India. But gradually, over the last 15 years, we have become a serious player, and we are exporting to almost all the markets.
Vineet, coming to you now on similar lines, talk to us about your journey. How are you kind of building your supply chains, and how can Gujarat SMEs, more importantly, be part of the modern global supply chain today?
So talking about our industry in the renewable space, and then the topic about the global value chains, the whole renewable sector, and for that matter the semiconductor sector, is as of now we all know heavily dependent on China, and the whole world is looking at the other options, alternatives to the country. We have seen the risks involved during times like COVID, and how dependent on one country can lead to a lot of issues. So already Gujarat, for that matter, and particularly South Gujarat, I would say, Surat and the nearby regions, is I think the global leader in solar modules manufacturing outside of the China in the whole world. So it is in a way the next best alternate for anyone who is looking to source modules or the raw materials for the solar value chain. Those are all getting manufactured. You talk about the glass, you talk about the EVA and backseats and ribbons. So almost all the raw materials are one by one getting manufactured in India. Even we are doing the same by having our own modules and EVA and backseats. So in a way, I think there is this cluster approach in Gujarat.
Aditi, let me now come to you. Menstrupedia has a presence in close to 10 countries today. Tell me, how are you constantly scaling up your supply chain, and what is needed to efficiently achieve that?
So before I tell what I do, mine is a very niche business. We make comic books to teach girls about periods. And to really scale up the supply chain becomes very challenging. And here is where I see SMEs also using cost-effective ways of, at least exploring where they can have their next business. So what we have at Menstrupedia, we have co-publishers in different countries, and in different countries, in all these countries, co-publisher can print the books in their own language. So, like I said, SMEs always have, they're always tight on their budget, first generation entrepreneur. What we did is that in the COVID times, we launched our masterclass. And that is something that, that other SMEs can also do, which is to establish yourself as a thought leader and make your knowledge or, some of your not trade secrets, but those things that has really worked well out open in the public, so that other interested entrepreneurs or other stakeholders in other part of the world can really have access to those knowledge. So many of our co-publishers who are in Kenya, Malaysia, then Egypt, Iran, UK, they all attended our masterclass, and that is how they decided to become one of our co-publishers.
Let's now talk about the impact of state-supported venture funds like, we've got GVFL, capacity building programs, and incentives in creating Gujarat's model startup ecosystem recognized as best performer startup state. Dr. Viranchi, why don't you go first? Talk to us about these initiatives and how they've kind of helped the state.
Of course, the initiatives are very important, especially in the field that I come from, because going forward, I think innovative products and innovative solutions are going to be very important for driving the growth of the pharmaceutical sector. A lot is already happening on the patient front with a lot of new models, new solutions that are coming up. At the same time, we have a lot of gap in terms of addressing, for example, cancer and a lot of other diseases where innovation and innovative solutions are going to be very important. The kind of support you get to the venture funds, especially the ones in the eco space in Gujarat, are so very important to drive the growth forward.
Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance. Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.
Ravi, why don't you tell us your views on the impact that the state-supported funds have had?
Yeah. In every area, frankly, government has helped, whether it's the state government or the central government. Starting from the tech part of it, the initial stage when you're looking at some tech or something to start your business, at that point in time, you have certain grants, certain support systems. Later on, when you actually have gone into the production side and when you have started to really earn revenues, when you want loans, they are there in terms of the central government guaranteed schemes, then CGTMS schemes and the like. So they have really helped the SMEs to get funded. The most difficult part of MSMEs is to get funded, and that to get funded at the right cost also. There are many lenders. Now you have across the board so many lenders giving you 18, 24%, 50% also. Okay, they charge interest. They disguise it. But these kind of schemes from the government has really ensured that the funds reach to the actual company itself. Of course, there are many other venture funds. Let's say GVFL, one of them. They have been really supporting a lot of good, the ventures in Gujarat, especially. So I think all the government schemes you have really helped the MSMEs to come up.
All right, Aditi, you're sort of agreeing with Ravi on what he was saying. So talk to us about how does Gujarat's position as the best performing startup state has impacted you, and how has that worked out for you?
I think just not looking at data, but just the mindset of the people here. Gujarati, the whole Gujarat, there is business in the air of Gujarat. So I think there is no resistance. I also think that there are a lot of startup policies which are in alignment with what you want to do. And there is a lot of support. The ecosystem is very supportive. It is very easy to walk into any of the offices and tell them your problem or the place where you want to work, and you will be heard. So the government in itself is in lot of alignment with what you are doing as a startup. There are people to listen, and the whole intention that okay, if some work is being done, all the ecosystem comes in support. So again, a lot of data could be thrown, but just the mindset, a lot has to do with Gujarat's business mindset is a very growth mindset. Okay, they're always finding opportunity in something. Okay, if it has not been done, can we do it this way? Can we,
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Gujaratis are very enterprising, for sure.
The growth mindset.
I love my Guju friends, yes. All right, Sandeep, let me quickly come to you. What more needs to be done in order to build a clean, sustainable supply chain? You're in the business.
So in our business, we use a lot of super alloys, very high-grade steels, which when we started manufacturing, we were importing almost all the raw material. Now, probably our import is down to 5%. So we have engaged with local manufacturers. We have, along with them, we have developed all these materials domestically. Some of them are made in Ahmedabad. Some we buy from Pune. So I feel that once you start sourcing your material within the country, it definitely becomes sustainable, plus it makes us more competitive.
All right. Vineet, on similar lines, to become a global powerhouse, what kind of help is needed from the government, and what kind of help is already there, for enterprises? If you can throw some light for your sector.
So in our sector, we have this electronic policy for the manufacturing that covers renewables, manufacturing, supply chain as well. And we have a very decent capex and interest subsidy programs for the businesses up to 1,000 crores of investment and onwards as well. A slight issue is that there are many times delays in the disbursement of subsidies, which really impacts the beneficiary. I mean, if it's the timely disbursement, it will go a long way. So our last subsidy happened somewhere in COVID because of a lot of other environmental factors, but then we haven't seen much development happening. The forms are not very clear. How do you supply data? The net GST, state GST reimbursements are not really happening around. So if those smaller issues can be executed after the policy is prepared, I think that will go a long way. Apart from that, the power supply itself, there's a lot of development happening around. But again, there are certain issues in terms of execution. The policies there, the tariff orders are not really getting announced, which are impacting the delays in execution. Investors or the consumers, the factory owners are ready to invest in the renewables power plants to reduce the power cost. But there are certain delays in the connectivity, land approval. So again, the point being support on the execution side.
All right, so disbursement delays is the big challenge. Let's now quickly talk about the role that SMEs play in enhancing the scale and capacity of Gujarat's industrial ecosystem. Dr. Viranji, quickly, if you could tell us, how are Gujarat's SMEs faring?
Well, again, in the space that I come from, Gujarat itself contributes to almost 1/3 of the India's production. And the contribution of SMEs to this number is almost 50%. So I would say the SMEs play a very important role. In the pharma space, they not only manufacture for themselves, but a lot of them also contribute to the performance of the large companies to whom they become the suppliers of products and services. Going forward, I think as we have a target, and in the pharma space, the numbers that we have is almost $50 billion today. And as India, we have set up a target of reaching about 130 billion by 2030. And approximately 500 by 2047. And this entire journey, the SMEs are going to play a very, very crucial and important role, contributing almost half of this performance.
Absolutely. And you know, Gujarat's SMEs have the second largest market cap share in the country at 24%. Indian startups are raising a lot of funds. Ravi, what would your advice be to startups? What is the best way they can be investing their funds in?
Yeah, I would actually advise what I have advised to my boys also. And that is, you be very clear about your products in the first place. Ensure that you have not just done the concept, but even actually becoming profitable. And then put your own funds in the first place, and then go to the market in whichever manner that you can, whether it is the venture capitals first or the PE, and of course, ultimately the IPO stage. That will ensure that you have a sustainable business built where the people can really, confide in you and actually invest in you. Similarly, whatever funds you get, it's best. Nowadays, the startups are not really doing the right kind of spending once they get the money.
Yeah.
So therefore, you actually invest in continuous R&D. That's something which has always been missing in India. Most of the startups can't even afford. But you need to invest in that R&D and in the production capacities rather than in any other kind of overheads. This is the way I would say, raise the funds and invest it also.
All right, so reduce overheads. That's a big piece of advice. Aditi, quickly, our IPO is a good way to build a larger national profile for the state's SMEs.
It is true that if you build IPOs, if you build world-class products, it is going to do better. But I think one of the things that I really wanted to bring here is, increase in the female LFPR. I know it is not in your question, but really, I see a lot of scope there. We have spoken enough about IPOs, but increasing the women race participation, workforce participation ratio. India, it is very low. In Gujarat, it is little bit high, 27%. It is seen that if 10% of the men to women ratio increases in terms of giving them more, keeping them as a part of the workforce, it has 7% increase in the net gross domestic product. So that is what I see. I know that we have discussed a lot about how to move ourselves towards the trillion economy, but unless and until we are not ensuring that 50% of the population becomes a part of the workforce, we are not going to we are not going to achieve that. I also see, girls in Gujarat, by the way, are studying more. The education has been more, but compared to how much they have studied, jobs that are suitable for them has not been created as yet. There is a lot of scope in even manufacturing industry where more jobs could be created. So I think apart from why we are definitely discussing about all of these things, we must discuss and we must relook at our industry and see how can we increase the labor force participation ratio for females, because it is a short growth for the economy.
Absolutely. On that note, one final question, and this is for all of you. You know, safeguarding the interests of SMEs in an era of global uncertainty is very, very important today. What measures should be taken in this regard? Can we start from here, Aditi? Why don't you go first? We'll just very quickly, one line.
Yeah, I just see my Chinese friends, peers doing really good with very less taxes and less compliances. So just like Dr. Mr. Khambata, if the taxes and the compliances burden would be lesser, it would be great for us to grow really.
Less taxes.
Not complaining, but just a small request.
Yeah, go ahead, Ravi.
I would just agree with that. In the interest of time, I would not add more, but I think what she said is absolutely right.
All right. Sandeep.
See, I would say the ecosystem, that the tax laws, they have to be more friendly. Government has to be more friendly. At this point, I feel, they are out on a witch hunt. There is very little actual support. So now to get refunds, of your excessive taxes paid, you have to go to the courts, which should be avoided.
The government is on a witch hunt. That's a pretty bold statement, Sandeep, there. But do you agree?
So for me, if I address your basic question, I think empowering SMEs to focus on innovation could be the one very important thing to do, because most of the SMEs are run by technocrats. And if we create an environment that helps them to focus on innovation, if we get value-added products out of them, if you help them to build a strong bottom line, I think everything else will follow.
All right. Yes, go ahead, Vineet.
So similar thing like what I asked about, good execution of the policies, and I think awareness of the policies are already being announced. So many times the local entrepreneurs don't even know there is a certain support given by the government. So like we talked about GVFL. So I'm sure not many people would know that there is a support of that sorts. We have got that advantage. One of our group company has got funded by GVFL, but before that, maybe 6 months ahead, we really didn't knew about it. So I'm just saying that spreading awareness of the policies that the government has announced, and then a good execution on the lot of policies that have been implemented.
All right, so government-friendly policies, less taxes, stop the witch hunt, ease of refunds, yeah? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and thank you, panelists, for your insights. It was an absolute pleasure talking to all of you. Thank you so much.
Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.